Gentlemen, because otherwise that is triple AP on the top side of the map, and you don't really want to see that. So that's a guarantee there. So at least Caitlyn, man, that just sounds awful to deal with.
Blind into like what 80 carry pick we're going to see, because we just don't know what that's going to be yet, but you know you're facing the Leona, so you feel really good about how the matchup will likely play out regardless of what that 80 carry is. You get Ornn, so we have a front line for this mid Corki, and some nice setup when you're fighting into the Aurora ult to set up some nice combos. You can engage from really far away with Ornn and Leona, then follow up with the Wukong, or vice versa if the Wukong's in a position to start it first. Oh my god, they're picking Corki into Caitlyn bottom lane.
Yep, it's the good old Corki Leona into into Caitlyn and Elise. And that is not going to be fun.
There's the Lee Sin I was talking about.
I mean, I think Oner can pick whatever he feels like here. It'll be just fine.
Shaco would be fun.
Graves would be fun.
Graves actually really works out because they'd like a little bit more attack damage, but we'll just be the Lee Sin ultimately here. And, you know, the thing is, the draft in isolation for DRX is like a middling, you know, but I feel like this is arguably almost even tougher, and they don't have the T1 roster to pilot it. It is going to be a tough uphill battle for DRX in this second game.
I would agree, and I think that the biggest issue, right, is that we needed DRX to have a draft advantage if they wanted to stand a chance, because already things were tough. Let's dive into the Rift for Game 2. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 2. T1, second time on red side. We're going to pick up another victory and close out a second win for Group Baron. They're up against Group Elder right now, who are sitting on 6 wins. It is looking like a little bit of a blowout. This might give them a little opportunity to come back in this one.
At level 1,
skin for Oner there.
They're going to try to set up these wards. But guess what? Guma's like, you know, you picked Corki into Caitlyn. So I imagine you're probably intending to avoid that matchup. So he's going to automatically kind of default assume that they're going up here, and he's going to wait. They're like, maybe we'll find out. Well, you're up here now. You're priced in. The other thing is, in order to punish the Rumble, you know, to try to dive or make something happen with a Wukong, it's not really likely pre-6 that he's going to be able to make anything happen. And so I'm just not really feeling great about how this is going to start off. But let's see how LazyField does, because you know what? Maybe he'll impress us. Maybe we'll be like, wow, this is the best Corki laning phase I've ever seen. Hey, that's a good start. Yeah, that's a good start.
Maybe they just go in. This is the problem, though, is that when we're just fighting in the neutral, there's 2 champions that can hit from long way away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only Keria just, his keyboard was disconnected and didn't proc electrocute and attack them, it would have been better. But hey, I mean, they got the engage on the Guma. That was the most they were ever going to do in this lane, and they still end up losing out on the trade, like you say.
And look, okay, we're going once again. Handle throwing some buttons away. Peacemaker not quite going to connect. But as you can see here, LazyField isn't allowed to hit minions with abilities, and that's not so good.
So the whole game plan, yeah, this is also a thing.
Yeah.
The whole game plan, and by the way, none of these were bought, except aiming, I guess.
Yeah.
He did. And you know.
And LazyField. He played one.
That's true. I forgot he actually played that one. Didn't go well for him in that laning phase either. But, yeah, if your whole game plan was like, well, maybe we'll get away with a lane swap. It's just so obvious that playing into Caitlyn, you would do this, that T1 are just like, well, we'll just also match your swap, sorry. Well, so you didn't avoid it.
It's currently 7-18, and I don't see that getting much better. Because the problem is, as well, is over the other side, you know, Rich is right now doing okay as far as farm is concerned, but, Keria, repellent, get himself out of there. Mid lane matchup is pretty even. Oh, that's a bit fun there from Rich. Gets a little bit of a knockup. Yeah. Doran, I think, is just going to be very happy. We'll cruise to level 6 and we'll have a lot more power at that point in time. T1, I just feel like they spike so incredibly hard in the early game. Is all right, there's a flash cocoon. And that looks like first blood pretty comfortably. Valkyrie away here from LazyField as best he can as Sponge, Warrior Tricksters, to get himself over the wall.
All Oner has to do is be nearby and they can make this play.
Yep.
And Sponge, it's so difficult to punish, you know, on early game Wukong. these types of scenarios against a Lee Sin as well. I mean, it's just not going to be a fun time. And you can duel the Lee Sin okay, but you're not going to be able to change the result of this play.
Double scuttle as well for
yeah. He's just played the early game well by being where he needs to be, knowing where his team's pressure point is, which is wherever Corki is. And, you know, double scuttle, double Lee Sin.
It's the dream.
I don't know, Atlas. I'm not optimistic yet. At least Yukal's having a good time. Like you said, he's keeping this lane even.
He is. Faker will be able to pull ahead by like a minion or two. But otherwise, not too much to worry about. And he'll just trying to clear up some vision where he can. Unfortunately, misses a few of the wards that are a little further forward.
Look at how, like, Oner's like, okay, Sponge is this far away. That's it. Kill him. And then they flashes, and as long as Keria hits the cocoon, it's dead.
Yep, done so. And also gives him no opportunity to flash either. Like, flash cocoon is basically instant. And so not going to be able to give him any chances there. And so Lazy Feel is now underneath this turret. Does have Endo at least turning up, but this might be a plate. And the problem is it doesn't get much better, right? Yeah, there's that little bit of a trough, but with the Collector IE build, I feel like if you're ahead of the curve, Caitlyn still feels fine moving into a mid-game anyway.
And they have so much more damage across this roster with the Rumble and the Aurora, too, that you can kind of get through that part of the game feeling pretty okay. And you're likely going to have a pretty nice advantageous lead in a draft like this. And remember, too, this is Guma, who, like you said, is probably LCK's best Caitlyn, at least best known. I would say that's not even
100%. And then, yeah, now there's almost no competition as far as Caitlyn players.
And then you look at, like, this is the duo that, regardless of whether it's Caitlyn or not, has made their entire careers basically on strong siding bottom lane.
Yep.
And even though it's in the top lane here, the champions still kind of do what it says on the tin. And so as a result, you know, you opted into Corki into like the worst possible team to do this into, and they just matched your lane swap, and now you're basically, you don't have an 80 carry in this game, unfortunately.
And they knew, because they banned the Caitlyn in the first game. And so T1, they're going to get started on these grubs. Do have Sponge making his way up. He might be able to steal one of them away. As you can see, Oner here, still with the smite available. Let's get the Q onto Andal here. Level 4 for both him and Keria. As level 6 available for Oner, not for Sponge. They're at such a disadvantage in this fight. That should be objective number 1 going on over to T1. As well as their feat of strength that they've already picked up with that first blood. Does mean that they are poised to really let this snowball roll.
And Oner's like, I'm not even going to smite that, I'm going to get this crab. Oh, you're not even going to get that! Sponge is going to try for it.
He is not going to be able to get it. Sponge gets over the wall. That was a bit cute. As Equalizer goes down, Rich, 0 mana available, but he's got some health bar. He's got a null magic. Make that a Negatron, so actually a little bit bigger than that. But still, not exactly having the most fun here in this lane.
Yeah, and like, all of this was not like a trap, you know? It was opted into, which is what makes this draft for DRX feel so frustrating. Lazy Feel's played a lot of Corki. You know, it's a pick that he's definitely comfortable on right now, and perhaps that's why they made this decision. But they didn't protect it with the Caitlyn ban this time around, and you know, this is the end result. And it's frustrating to see it play out in real time because we all know what Kuma and Keria are capable of. They, you know, heavily index into the Elise with the Electrocute. Yukal.
Yeah, Yukal looking for something here. We've seen not a lot of success for the Victor. In fact, the only... Okay, let's have a look at this. Just trying to clear out the wave as best he can. Is Rich. Bellows Breath going to be necessary there, but the Cocoon going to land. A lot of burst damage. There's the headshot, and boom. That's it. Keria's going to be able to pick it up in the end as Rich. You can see, oh, he's laughing about it, but not feeling too happy about the whole situation, you could imagine.
I mean, when you see an Ornn try to ult a wave to clear it to not die to the enemy bot duo, you really know the game state, right? Like, you really know how doomed this draft is.
Yeah, and he also had to use Bellows Breath to clear the wave, which means that he can't nullify CC with it afterwards.
Yeah, and he still dies, by the way, like, after using all of that stuff.
And we saw there the combination, right? You land the cocoon, you put the trap down, and then Gumayusi gets headshot after headshot, and then can follow up with the ulti for the finish.
It's feats of strength also when they get that turret, which they will get, by the way.
Yep.
So they have 2/3 of objective feats. They have first blood feat, and now this turret is. Rich attempts to clear the wave here with both his ult and the Bellows Breath, like you mentioned. This cannon, though, so pesky. And, yeah, I mean...
You can't press that button.
Nope.
And the Ignite ticks down to finish him off in the end. Keria almost dies to the turret, but otherwise he's fine.
Yeah, Repel buys him some time, though, and that's all he needs. And he died again, and the turret died with him.
Oh.
And that's feats of strength.
Oh, dear. Wait. Hang on. So he didn't even teleport back. How did he get back there so quickly? Wow. Okay.
So this is the second time, because you can see his ult's still on cooldown.
Yeah.
And he just
dies. And that's just another repel. And there it is. So welcome back to Elise, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. One of the reasons why Elise was so incredibly powerful is that you can very comfortably just eliminate turret aggro as a problem.
The other thing, too, is because of this draft, he's laning against a Rumble. And he's up against Rumble and Aurora, so he built the Null Magic Mantle. He didn't build the Null AD Mantle, actually.
No, he needs one of those.
It didn't really help him too much against the Collector, Caitlyn. And so, you know, it's been a rough time. And they opted into this. I just want to say it one more time, and I feel really bad, and Teddy is sick, and Lazy feels here, and they're trying to put him on something he's more comfortable with, but man, this ended up being a disaster.
Yeah, I just want to see the Corki priority disappear. I don't want to see that champion ever again.
I don't want to see in the bottom lane at least, okay? We could start with that.
Yeah, we can start with that. As Oner's going to get flashed on here, Solar Flare comes down. That is a very deadly sin. They'll take their first kill of the game. As now Doran possibly in trouble as Rich coming in. The trap, where was that going? That's off the tracks entirely. As Rich does get the knock up to prove that something's going to land, but there's no one else here now. Faker not really finding very much damage with the ulti as Lazy feel, oh dear. There's the last auto in the air from Keria, and that is going to finish it off once again.
And DRX get one grub.
Yep, that's going to deny the feats of strength that don't matter anymore.
Yeah. This is not indicative of who Lazy Feel is as a player, by the way. It's indicative of who Guma and Keria are as players and what this draft does. So I feel like a lot of people might judge Lazy Feel heavily for this. Now, he has had some tough laning phases. I had forgotten, actually, I deleted it from my brain, that he also did play Corki bottom lane. Lost that game as well, so that's part of the problem, too. Like, I'm just trying to give this guy credit because he is an incredible player so early on in his career. He's 17 years old, just eligible to be a sub for Teddy in the first place, and is under a ton of pressure. He's playing against the defending world champions here. And look, they gave him Corki, but this is not about like, man, he's not a great player, man. He's really rough around the edge. I mean, he's playing into Caitlyn. It's a rough time, and they end up getting this pick here. This is really well set up. You know, you can set up the Leona pick here onto the Lee Sin very easily, but unfortunately, it does leave Lazy Feel open on the top side of the map, and
maybe he thought Faker was going to flash or something and it was going to be a cool play. Tries to cleanse, and he's just dead. Just the casual auto attack. Elise's autos as well in human form just feel so pathetic. To die to it really feels worse than it otherwise does. So
yeah,
not a great time. I think that it's not really it's not about Lazy Feel this game for me. I feel like the draft was already in a real rough spot. And Rich is just having a heck of a time so far. And T1 are just playing like, this is vintage T1. Like, this is the T1 that looked so incredibly good when they were domestically powerful, right? Like, this is before they just started winning every world. It's like, this
when
was
Guma
2022.
They win everything. And they win this.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
Ace in the hole.
And like, this is why Keria was playing like Kalista support and Caitlyn support and stuff, because they're like, what lane can we win no matter what bottom lane? Let's just make it win every time.
Cocoon as the trap comes down, and unfortunately it was a little bit late. Yukal able to get the Chaos Storm off, so Gumayusi takes a little bit of damage there. Malignant's done here for Faker. His Oner is looking to steal away a red buff, and I have a feeling he might be able to just do that, especially with Doran in the area. But Sponge, okay, there we go. Now going to play respectfully, and Sponge will be able to collect that one for himself. Another gravity field going down. As Gumayusi just going to back away. Blackfire Torch done here for Yukal.
Look at the items for Guma and the 2.9k that's being pointed towards Caitlyn's portrait on the screen.
That arrow is a scary arrow, isn't it?
Then you look at the... Okay, he can finish Triforce. But moments before this, you look at the inventory and you're like, ooh. You look at the tier stacks and you're like, man, this is a rough time, right? And like, the Muramana may not complete this game, you know what I mean? Like, it is that tough of a time. That's how far behind he is. And it's just, when you're ahead with Elise, you can fish for stuff like this. And because there's, like, in even game states like what we had with D+ earlier, Barrel dies a lot because you're super squishy, the enemy team has ways to catch you. But when you have full vision control and full map control and a massive lead like this, you know, Keria just walks around the map and decides who dies. And that's what's happening. He's 100% KP in Guma. Yep, the kill squad, man. Just push him around the map and absorb gold.
It's working out extraordinary. He's got a Storm Surge as well. Like, it's he's doing some damage.
Yeah, he is really gonna double electrocute them, essentially.
It feels like solo queue, like kill support lanes, right? Where they actually get money. It's kind of crazy. Keria certainly having a much better time than he otherwise was. And not so much. Will be able to dodge that cocoon. As Faker did a bit of damage. See, the only one that's really doing much of anything at all this game on the side of DRX is Yukal. Does have that one kill that they were able to pick up onto Oner. As Cocoon somehow goes wide there. That was actually like the most minuscule of sidesteps from Yukal. So
in order
to eventuate him much.
Value out of the Blackfire Torch, they have to have a long team fight. So slowing this game down somehow, slowing these fights down somehow, letting Rich, you know, tank that damage is the only way you could hope to win a fight in an even game state, which we're not in. But I mean, this is just going to be T1 getting everything they want. This turret is next on the list.
Yep. Yukal going to tank the ace in the hole. Not too happy about that one either. It's starting to do a lot of damage. Gumayusi is just a recipe completion away from an Infinity Edge. That first 2-item spike feeling a lot better than it used to on this Caitlyn. And then wants to build a whole bunch more crit if he can find it. As, yeah, T1 strength to strength so far this game. Feats of them, in fact, as we are going to be starting to upgrade some of these shoes potentially.
Would you say
a couple of extra items come in?
Ornn is a good side lane champion that can maybe all in on getting one of these bounties? I'm leaning towards no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Perhaps not 30 CS down as well.
The problem is like DRX's composition, you can see that like maybe if there is a team fight, then they have a bunch of tools. There's a lot of AoE. The problem is they've got a team fight that does really, really well against a low-range composition, and T1 is so good at just picking off a target from a million miles away, and making it so that like these honest 5v5s just won't exist.
And I mean, look at the zoning they can do with these traps as well. Caitlyn is known to shoot far.
Yeah, she does do that.
In terms of range. And they just grab this Herald for free, and now they're like, well, I guess we push inner with it? Mid-inner, that is to say. I guess is probably where they're going to put their pressure. They can use it for the next dragon, like set up for Prio. Yukal is the only gold lead on the map. And, I mean, he's trying to side lane against Faker here while everyone's resetting. This is an opportunity, potentially.
Yeah, does have that Chaos Storm. Faker going to be able to use the ultimate to teleport to the other side. That gets him out of there. And I think Yukal was just trying to put on whatever pressure he could find. Infinity Edge, like we were talking about before, is going to get completed.
Do you think there's any chance that T1 would have, knowing Lazy Field's champion pool, denied a Corki pick from him, and that's why they decided to first pick it? Because, like, that's the one thing I'm thinking of where I'm like, we didn't really discuss this possibility, but maybe they just pick it away from him and he doesn't get to play it. Because, remember, they first picked this over the Aurora.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the Rumble.
There's no explaining it that makes sense to me. Personally, as Faker could be in trouble here. As the train comes down, this time it's going to land. Nice little chain CC there from Rich, but he's well and truly by himself. And he's going to have to try and flash away. The flash forward from Oner, and he kicks him in the back of the head. That's going to send him to the death chamber as Sponge. Warrior tricks to get himself out of the way, and Gumayusi doing the thing he loves to do best, which is shoot turrets. Unless he can shoot the little yordle in a plane. It's another thing that he really enjoys doing.
Yeah, he likes to get money and then use it to buy items and then kill people with it. But also killing turrets, like you said, he is a big enjoyer of that. Faker may be in trouble really for real this time, maybe?
Yeah. He's not going to be able to make that flash work, because Oner is like, yeah, you're on your own, buddy.
Oner's like, nah, sorry, man, that's all I can do.
Faker for inner turret, though, Wolf. That's the trade. You let me know whether that's worth it.
I mean, it really depends on who you are, I guess.
It also depends on whether you think the Faker needed to die there, and whether they just definitely get the turret anyway. I'll leave that one up to everybody else, though, as Rich will... look at this. Proves that he lands the combos nicely.
All they can do in this game is try to find people who are in, out of position and try to kill them. Rich dies for this, but they get Faker's ult, and then they're like, okay, he's still out here. Let's make this set play happen. Just like they did when they killed Oner earlier in the river. This is all they can do, is just try to find gold on overextending players or players out of position with traps like this, and catch T1 napping, basically, when T1 aren't doing their due diligence to check, behind them there in that brush in this case. Small victory.
That's the support, by the way, versus the jungler. Keria just half-elfing him with his Storm Surge.
I thought the Ornn was the support in this game for DRX.
Yeah.
Or wait, maybe it's the Wukong, or maybe it's the...
It could honestly be any of them at this stage.
Yeah. This is a rough one, man. This is our first, real stomp,
Oh! Doran's
another
dead! There we go. Yukao collects a second.
That's three. Three of these picks they've gotten where T1 just caught with their pants down a little bit. I mean, these are the kind of plays that if you get, I don't know, maybe 7 more of them, could get you back into this game. And that's all you can do.
You're going to need those 7 more in 4.5 minutes as well, because if Infernal Soul goes over to T1 with a composition like this, I just don't think that there's any hope whatsoever. And I was leaning towards there being no hope before even having that thought.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first game of the year where if this was a scrim, after the Corki got locked in, they would probably be let's be fair. After the Caitlyn got locked in, they'd be like, all right,
let's just go again. We're not going to learn anything here. Voracious Artican has turned up, as we would assume, as Keria not going to be throwing all of his buttons into an Eclipse, which I can understand.
When you play chess online, sometimes if you make an error, sometimes the opponent will ask for a stalemate because they're like, oh yeah, you accidentally moved your queen. It was clearly an accident. You wouldn't normally do that, and they're being really respectful. This is kind of like one of those games where you're like, a bit of a whiff.
Yeah. Does feel a little bit like that.
Now let's see if they can find or lock down a single target again. When all of T1 is grouped, it's a lot harder than when Doran's pushed a little bit up in the side lane, when Faker pushed up in the side. Keria, maybe?
Yeah, does flash. As we've got 1 second on the Chaos Storm. Yukao, I think if he had that, then Keria was dead. Depending on whether Repel can be enough to get himself out of danger. But still, that is going to buy them a little bit of space.
Yeah, I mean, that's a small win. Doran is, siding for free and does have teleport, so he can join at any time. Rich also has teleport. I don't know if he'll be making the same impact when he shows up. And 3 minutes until that dragon. Otacon is up, and it's on the bottom side of the map where T1 are now grouping. That's why they were set up just moments ago before Keria nearly got picked. He doesn't have flash. As, this is just gonna...
That's a long walk for Shelly.
They're timing it out, just for when everyone shows up on DRX to have to deal with it. It's totally intentional, 100% calculated play here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lazyfield is going to probably get there before she does have the opportunity to get too much charging happening.
But that may be when T1 pull the trigger on Otacon, if they would like to.
Yeah, that's going to do nothing at all. Still, Otacon, like you were saying, is up and available. Andil just doing his best to scout the area, but look at the vision control here for T1.
They just can't see anything, and T1 can see everything.
If T1 do start Otacon, right, and DRX manage to find a window in, which has happened right now, the window in yet, that hasn't happened.
Look at the traps. How do you get in here? You can't even show up. You can't even show up to the fight, basically, as DRX. How do you even get there?
I think T1 want to back away. Yeah, I don't think risking it is a good idea.
I mean, there's just no reason to.
Yep.
That's the one way they could lose the game. And they had such a good setup anyways.
Oh, dear. Okay, Doran taking a lot of damage. Oner not able to get on in there to get on top of him, as everyone has the Sonic Wave attached to them. Doran moving here towards this top side. He's going to be able to clear out this minion wave. This game has slowed down. I feel like it's been about 6,000 gold or thereabouts for quite some time.
The tier...
And, ornaments coming in, Wolf.
The tier will finish stacking.
True.
Earlier I wasn't sure, but I think I can confidently say he's going to finish his Muramana.
And look, the slingshot will turn into a long-range gun.
Yes.
we'll have a third item.
Oh, don't.
Whoa.
They made the gold graph a little bit bigger. If you couldn't see it earlier, now you can really see it in all its glory.
The
might of
Caitlyn
Guma.
situation is looking pretty Caitlyn-y at this stage.
You know, this is one of the first times, too, for voting for player of the match where it gets really tricky for me. Because you got a really dominant performance from Oner and Doran in game 1, but like it's kind of the Guma Keria show in this one. It's very split.
I think I'm probably still on the Oner train.
I think I am, too, to be honest with you, because he's had a good game here, even though it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah. I feel like this is the type of series where you kind of, okay.
Maybe it's not Keria.
Keria is going to die, but Lazyfield is in a lot of trouble. Still gets himself to relative safety. Gumayusi now in trouble. Yukal comes over. Oh, DRX, have you found an angle to get back in? Oner says no. The equalizer, not exactly the highest of value, but Yukal's the president. They have to keep that guy alive. He is all of the damage here for DRX. The Sponge diving towards Faker, trying to make me into a liar here as he is able to slam down with damage himself. Doran wanting to find an opportunity, but Yukal, too smart, able to walk out of the way of the Rumble. So,
the question though is, like, can they actually get anything out of this? You know, Oner took so much damage from Lazyfield there, but doesn't go down. Faker dies, but everyone's super low. Like, if we look at the turrets, so there's 3 turrets that can get a bounties. The bounty on the Dragon, they could potentially take after this. And yet, they don't have enough control. T1 are back on the Dragon first, as you can see in live. I want to break this replay down too much because we are having some action in live.
Yeah, you can see Rich going to flash towards the wall and not over it. Faker is going to be gifted the kill, I believe. There it is. As Oner once again in control of this one. We're still waiting for the Wukong to turn up as he gets into the pit. Can they deny the solar kick? Says absolutely not. Yeah, I think POM going over to Oner sounds pretty good to me, as Andal is dead. And the brief bit of DRX cool stuff comes to a close.
It just wasn't, like, it was a fight, that last fight where you're like, wow, they actually did anything, so it means everything, right? Because DRX maybe could, but then you look at the game state and you're like, well, they just still can't do Dragon action.
Yeah, and Infernal Soul and stuff, and now Artican as well is going to be coming up here. We'll have to see how many of the turrets they're going to be able to take, utilizing that team-wide GA that they'll have available. Unless it's just Baron. They could just take Baron, I guess.
Yukal had a good series, you know?
He did.
We can say that.
Talia was great.
Yeah, his Talia was amazing. He's deathless in this incredibly tough game to play out here. And, I mean, Rich is just trying to delay this for his team to come over because they had, obviously, some delayed resets.
I think also understanding that if they lose the Infernal Soul, then it's going to be a real hard time.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to try something here. The Infernal Soul makes the Otacon fight harder, but Sponge is hoping for the steal here. Kicked out.
And even CCing Yukal there as well, so that he can't get a death ray over there or something like that. All in all, just very, very well played by T1, just to make sure that they get themselves the Dragon. Do they get the Baron for free as well?
I think the answer is yes. At low risk with a Voracious buff. They all got wings.
As Keria is just playing Bodyguard. And it looks like, yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot of options. Control Ward in there. The trap wall set up so that T1 cannot be stopped. And yeah, they'll get the information. That's really cool. Still, the Baron is going to go down. There's nothing that they can do about it. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm at a loss for this one, Atlas.
Yeah, I am.
Even if he dies, by the way, it's fine.
It doesn't really matter. Equalizer goes down. Yukal is the target. They've decided to kill him, and thus he will die. Andal gonna go down there as well. And, yep, Keria gets to buy some items. Shirelia's going to be put together here as he gets that free trip back home. And with Yukal dead, you can see slumped back in his chair, understands that this game was well and truly on his back. And Sponge, that's an interesting little situation here as T1, they understand that it's going to be really hard to stop them from just taking what they want because they can't even die. As Oner goes in, goes back out, that is going to be inhibitor number 1 going down. Mid lane can fall swiftly afterwards. There's an inner turret still up on the bottom side, so 3 inhibs probably not going to happen here, but a dead Nexus, that's certainly on the cards. There are still minions conga lining their way in. 1 Nexus turret remains. As Andal, that Eclipse Shield not going to be enough. The train sails by without causing too much harm to anyone. And Yukal, I think, just going to park himself on the fountain because there's nothing he can do to stop the onslaught of T1. A 2-0. And Baron doubles the amount of kills their group has been able to pick up because the world champs have been able to get there here in their second time of asking.